down in Redding, California. And so this is interesting times, and it's a time with remote learning where technology is very important. Before we get started here, I would like to let you know that in order for us to get into breakout rooms later on, we'd like you to please rename yourself to include the grade level you teach or your position. And for example, for myself, it'd be instructional coach, Mark Lewin, or for Leo, it'd be K1, Leo Plack. And then to rename yourself, you click on the participants icon, hover over your name, click more, and then rename. So while you're doing that, also in the lower left-hand corner, I have a bit.ly that you can use. It's OSTA, capital T Tech, capital T Tools. And that'll get you a copy of this that you can file, go under file and make a copy. And I also have my name there, my email, and my Twitter handle as well. All right, so we'll get started. The reason I started off with the NGSS here is because I just want to review thinking about the remote learning. The DCI, disciplinary core ideas, are still there and pretty easy to give out to students, even through paper, and the CCC's cross-cutting concepts as well. But we have to remember that in today's times with remote learning, scientific practices can be more of a challenge, and I hope to address that a bit today through what students are able to do. We need to think about place-based learning, and especially now when the students are at home, what they have around them to be able to engage in science. And then also down below, literacy and math standards, those connections are imperative right now, especially with the elementary grades, early elementary grades. Everybody's saying, well, there wasn't time enough for science in the classroom. Well, what about now especially? Science is so engaging, and there's great ways to integrate literacy and math into our science, and I'll be addressing that through technology also today. There's just a reminder for you that there's a couple of great ways to search the next generation science standards. There's nextgenscience.org/search standards, and the app Mastery Connect for NGSS is my go-to tool on my phone, real quick to search up standards while I'm doing my planning or working with my colleagues. So I began using this specific curriculum pre-NGSS. It has to do with the autumn oaks. I know up in Oregon you have the white oaks, and down in Redding we have the blue oak, the live oak, and the valley oak are the most prevalent oaks that we have in the area. And so Paul Kraftwell, I got his permission to use his curriculum that he developed here about the oaks ecosystems. And then I took this binder that he created for these great science lessons and wonderful engaging lessons, and I matched them to the LS2 standard of interdependent relationships and ecosystems. And mainly this will focus on the 5th grade. But I'm just using this as an example. The technology that I'm showing you today can be implemented for many different topics and all the different grade levels. The first one I'm going to talk about today is Pear Deck. And Pear Deck is a formative assessment that some of you may be familiar with. As with many apps today, they are granting premium access during the school closures. And once you get the bit.ly, you can click on there later on to play around with Pear Deck and to get your premium account through them. Our district has been working with Pear Deck for 4 or 5 years before they were integrated with Google. And the reason for it is because it's a system where it's an app that integrates with Google Slides, and it makes the slides interactive for students to go ahead on their devices. It can be even a phone. They can enter their answers and it'll be recorded onto the Pear Deck. I'm going to show you a quick video that gives a glimpse of how it works, and then I'll show you specific examples. So this is the video for introducing Pear Deck, a formative assessment app that's integrated with Google Slides. Oh, that didn't work. Sorry about that. There we go. So you'll have that catchy tune inside your heads for a while. But anyways, so Pear Deck, again, it is a way to get 100% participation with your students in the classroom. And what it does, and I'm going to go into this mode here so I can show you, it's an add-on. So add-ons are apps that are specific to programs. So Pear Deck is specific for Google Slides. And for add-ons, you click on the top of Google Slides. You go to Get Add-ons if you don't have Pear Deck yet. And then once it's there, you'll see Pear Deck for Google Slides add-on. And then I'm going to open the Pear Deck add-on to show you what it's like. So this slide right here was, I just inserted a picture and put some text on top in a regular Google slide. And then I opened the Pear Deck add-on. And down here, this is the type of answers that I want the students to give me. So in this case, this is a text answer. What do you notice? What do you wonder for this phenomenon? So if you're wondering about how do I get phenomenon in a remote setting, this could be one way to do that and have them respond. The second slide I'm going to use as an example is a draw slide. So the answer I want from the students, again, is a draw. All I do is click on this blue button, and I know it becomes a Pear Deck interactive slide when I see this pair right down here, and also down below in the speaker notes, it'll note that this is a Pear Deck drawing slide. Okay, so how does this work? I'm going to start the lesson. So I'm going to open this Google slide up now in the Pear Deck app, and I do that by clicking Start Lesson. Now here I have a choice. If I'm in the classroom, I want to control how, I want everybody to be on the same slide at the same time. You can control that by doing the instructor pace activity, or you can go in these times to student pace activity, or if you want students to go at their own pace in the classroom, you could also do the student pace mode where they do it on their own time and you're not controlling when they go from slide to slide. So I'm launching out here in Pear Deck, and it's going to look exactly like the Google slide. And it asks here, you can actually send this straight out to their Google Classroom because Pear Deck is 100% integrated with Google. So if you want to do that, you can just share out your Pear Deck slides to your students. For the case of demonstrating, I'm going to click on copy link. And you could send this link out to your students. I'm pasting the link in. And now I'm going to put on my student hat here. And you're going to pretend this is the student view that you're seeing right here. So ask, how are you feeling today? It's a great day. And then as a student, I'm seeing all the slides. I'm on student paste. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to forward to the slide with that oak tree that you just saw. And before it was just a regular slide that you saw, but this is the student view. And the student, this is a text question. So I'm going to type in what I notice. I notice there is a lot of biomass. And what do I wonder? I wonder how many insects live in that tree. And then I can add in, the student can add another response if they want as well. So those are the two slides that I had for Pear Deck in this session. Well, here's the second slide. And for this drawing slide, you have a choice of using a pencil, a highlighter to highlight things, create a line to make connections. There's also text, and the text box are relatively small, so if you want to write a lot of text, you make it a text answer when you're creating your Pear Deck. And you can go over here. All right, I'll label this water. You also have an you have an option to erase. Over here, you can undo what you just did, just like you do in a doc or slide. And here, if you want to wipe out everything that you did on the slide, you can click on the trash can and it'll clear everything out. The colors you can choose when you're in pencil mode. You can choose any color. And you can make it the markers thick or as small as you want. It says circle 3 important factors. I'll do the sun, water, and an acorn, just to give an example. And then I'm done. So those are all my Pear Deck slides I have to answer. So as a student, I'm going to close out. And remember, this is still, as you can see up here, we're still in Pear Deck. I'm going to end the session. I don't want my students to work on this anymore. And I'm sure that I want my students to stop working on this. So I'm going to put yes. And I'm going to label this OSTAPD. I'm going to save and end the session. Now it's creating something called takeaways. This is the brilliant thing about Pear Deck also. All the answers that the student puts on the slides, it will automatically allow you to share, for the students to get a copy of their answers onto their Google Classroom, or you can share a link for them to get it. So I'm going to copy this link to show you what that takeaway or what their answers is going to look like from a teacher perspective. So Pear Deck creates an automatic folder in your Google Drive. And this, I just created this, right? The OSTAPD. And these are the takeaways. They come in the form of a Google Doc. One of these is the master copy with no answers on it. And one of these will be the student's answers.
Mark, we had a question in the chat. Someone's wondering if students also have to have the add-on Pear Deck, or when they view the slides, does it just come through like a normal Google Slides link?
They do not have to. If you want to give them there's a code also, and they can go to either the link, or there you can also go to joinpd.com. The student can. You'll give them the code that comes for your Pear Deck, and they can automatically join, and they can do it from any device, whether it's an iPad, a phone, or a Chromebook, or a computer. It doesn't matter.
And we had a second question. Do all student answers go to the same drive folder? So that folder that you just created, would all of their work go into the same folder?
Yes, all the students' answers would go into the same folder. And you can see right here, this is the student's answer. And then here's the student's drawing. So the nice thing about these takeaways, they're in Google Docs. So you can highlight the picture, create a comment, and then can you add text to explain why you chose these factors. And then you can go ahead and do a plus, and you can assign it to that student so you can give them feedback right away if you like. Pear Deck does not grade the options, and it is by student. They do have also where you can get all the answers in a spreadsheet that you can look at also.
We got a couple other questions. Is there a turn in button for students to click, or does it collect their answers as they enter them?
It collects their answers as they enter them. So like, even though if it's a Google Classroom assignment, if they do the Pear Deck, as they finish their answers, it goes into the takeaways into the drive.
And one last question, can you schedule when your slideshow stops collecting work?
You cannot schedule it. You'd have to go into your session and just say end session and click on it. Are there any other questions? Okay, I'm going to leave that. So think about how Pear Deck might be a good thing for getting feedback from students during remote learning. If they have access to even a phone, they'll be able to do this. All right, so I'm going to move on now. Oh, before I do that, let me just mention that when you get the Pear Deck add-on, that down below it says how Pear Deck works. So they do have content for you. They have some templates, like they have template library here. So you can check out different templates. They have lesson builders for beginning, during lesson, end of lesson. They have social emotional learning templates. They have templates for littles, like if you're doing your ABCs. And they also have templates for, look at that, science as well. Okay, so you can play around with it once you get it and check it out. And then when it's free right now, and there is a cost. I'm not sure how much the cost is. I think this is one of the main things that our district has been using for years, and it gets so much more engagement in the classroom, actually 100% engagement. You can see live in the classroom how your students are answering, and so you can see which ones are understanding or not understanding the concept. and go to them and help them right away. So it's a very powerful tool. The next thing I'm going to talk about is PlayPosit. If you're familiar with Edpuzzle, PlayPosit is similar to Edpuzzle. It has a few other things. It has screencasting that you can do, like Screencastify, and it has some tools where you're able to bring videos together and edit them. So the reason we use PlayPosit in my school, so it's a video system where you can upload a YouTube video, put it into PlayPosit, and PlayPosit you can insert questions into the video with PlayPosit, and the students can answer them, and then you'll get a record of your students, how they answered the video, and that'll come up in PlayPosit. And I'll show this video will explain it a bit further.
Hello, welcome to Tech Tips with Casey by Fairwinds Teaching. Today's video is about PlayPosit for educators. First thing you're going to do is go to go.playposit.com. After you click on the sign up button, I always use sign in with Google, but there are lots of different single sign-on options. Also, you can just fill out your name and all of your information. Once you are all signed in, you will go ahead and see you have your profile up here. The first thing I'm going to have you do is add your students. I go ahead and just use a sign-on link. So you're going to go up here to classes, click on the classes button. And I've created one that's called Miss Kaiser's third grade. So we're going to go ahead and click on create new class. You're going to name it. So it might be your science class for the day. I always make sure I have my name in the class, and then you can pick a different color. I'll go with teal and press save. Then when you click into that class, you're going to go over to the learners button. When you click on learners, you want to click on add learners. If you already have an Excel spreadsheet or something that you can download and manually add your students easily, then go for that. But I usually just grab my class URL code. So go ahead and click the code here, and it's already copied the text. Now you will be able to paste this wherever your students access their links, whether it be Schoology, your Google Classroom, or sending them an email. I'll show you what the student view looks like and how they join your class. Once you've linked it into your class, whether it's Schoology or Google Classroom or just sending a link in an email, this is linked in my Sandbox account. Once you've clicked on your link, Join Miss Kaiser's PlayPosit class, it'll take you to the same screen. The students will then use that personalized link to sign up themselves. I always have my class sign up through Google Sign In, but have your class sign in how they normally do. Once they sign in, it will tell them that they've successfully joined the class and continue. They'll go ahead and click continue, and they will be a part of your class now. Now, every time they do their assignment, their data will show up as their first and last name, and they will be able to see any of the bulbs that you assign them. Enjoy PlayPosit. Thank you.
Okay, so with that was just again an idea of how to set it up. The PlayPosit, they call their videos bulbs, and there's a library of teacher created videos that already have questions inserted into them. If you use those videos, make sure you preview them to make sure all the answers that they have set up are correct when they go through that for the grading purposes. I'm going to show you an example of how we use PlayPosit. And again, the main reason we do it is so we can take YouTube videos or other videos, insert questions into them, and then send them out. Because in our district, YouTube is blocked for students, and so they can't access YouTube videos. So we use PlayPosit to get around that issue. So this is going back to science. This is a video about the acorn weevil, getting back to our oak trees here. And I'll show you how this video will explain about the acorn weevil, of course, but the point is that you see the question popping up as this video is played.
Location, that oak tree in your backyard. That's one of your acorns, from which another mighty oak will not grow because of that critter on top, an acorn weevil. The acorn weevil's nose is longer than its body, and on the end of that nose are teensy tiny jaws, perfect for drilling and foraging. This weevil is breaking a 3-year fast by feasting on this acorn, pouncing on it, and drilling a hole through the soft new acorn shell.
Okay, and then we look at the different questions. In this case, the question is multiple choice. It can be a text question, similar to what Pear Deck had. They have several different types of interactions as well. So I'll put drills a hole using its nose, which is somewhat correct. And then after they go through that, they go on. Again, PlayPosit takes all those answers and puts them in a PlayPosit area for grading and grades it for you if you make the multiple choice. And then you have all the how the student did, and the students also get feedback from how they did on the PlayPosit video. So it's another form of formative assessment, and it's nice for the students that are more visual. Okay, are there questions about PlayPosit at this point before I move on?
No questions, just appreciating the use of the word nose.
Sorry. All right, there we go. The next step that we're going to is Google MyMaps. So we have Google Maps. Google MyMaps is a way that the students can personalize a Google map for their area. Just like you drop a pin to figure out where you had parked, you can drop pins, but you can also add more information.
This is the top result.
You can travel the world with Google. And if you've ever wanted to make your own custom maps, you're in luck. With MyMaps, you can create and share maps of the places and things that matter most to you. Let's say you're planning a vacation to France. You can search and add locations you want to visit. Change the marker's color and shape. Save driving directions from your hotel to that famous cafe. Or highlight must-see neighborhoods. You can create layers and group places by theme with the option to hide and display them. Even import lists of places and addresses if you want to build your map that way. Then, when your map is just the way you like it, you can share your map with friends and even invite them to add to it. So whether you're getting ready for your next trip, contributing to your community, or just plain having fun, there's a world of possibilities with MyMaps.
All right, so Google MyMaps, the way I integrate this into the science classroom is, so one thing I did is we have a small watershed called Little Churn Creek, which is probably an old ditch from the farming days. This is Mistletoe School, the school I taught at for many years. And here I have the students created lines that outlined Little Churn Creek watershed and how it goes along the school area. And then you can think of other questions such as runoff, crown canopy, and so forth. And then also using Google MyMaps, they're able to look at the larger Churn Creek that we had, not Little Churn Creek, but the larger Churn Creek watershed, and map it out as how it goes through the city of Reading to understand that watersheds are not something found in the mountains or the rural areas, but they're also right there in the cities. And the students are able to appreciate the importance of the water flow getting from Churn Creek down to the Sacramento River. We had the good fortune even of getting a person with a drone to come out that was licensed, and they took drone video footage of our little Churn Creek. And this is the parking lot of the school over here, and this is our neighbors on the left. And you can see that here, you can talk about the types of trees that are along there. You can talk about the water flow. You can do this different times of the year. And think about place-based learning for the students to get buy-in of cleaning this creek out. We did that several times. And we did also research into what lives in the creek. We did macroinvertebrate studies to look at the health of the creek, and we did water quality testing as well. And this gives them an idea that goes beyond the school here. Here's an industrial area, and it shows where Little Churn Creek starts going and gives those kids another viewpoint of the importance of the watershed at their school site. So then after we looked at the watershed area, we went back, and because these oak trees, where do they get water from? Maybe this little Churn Creek area helps to feed that. But then we turned back to the oaks that are found on campus. And we had the students create pins for MyMaps. And we looked at several oak trees here that were on campus. So for example, this one, this is the primary playground of our campus. So they pinned the oak tree that they saw there. You can take a picture of it. You can insert images and videos as well for the types of trees. So we have here, they said this was a valley oak. This is from the students. And then they added text to describe what they saw. So the icons, the tree icons, that goes underneath style here. You can choose from many different icons. You can change the color of it for the type of tree. And you can give directions to the area. And then if you need to delete it, you can do that as well. So it just gives more interactive map as they're exploring their own sense of place in terms of science. Here's a blue oak, a leaf and the acorn. And then they also noted that this was the elementary school. And they created a different type of pin for that. They also, you can put different layers. So if you're doing different types of trees, you can have a layer, like this is a layer for school. So we identified the school with that pin, but then we did all the oaks here, and you could do a layer for different types of trees if you wanted, or if you're doing animals in the area or something like that, you can add layers to it. So you can see how this is a rich tool to get kids to thinking about their sense of place. Or if you're doing a study of different biomes or habitats, you can have them map those areas out and insert video about those areas that they created, or you can have them insert pictures and text as well. And it's a great different way, other than just a slideshow, of them to show what they've been learning. And are there any questions about Google My Maps before we head on to other areas, into G Suite?
We have one question. Can you access and edit maps from previous years?
You can. Once you have My Maps, it saves on your, whenever you go into Google My Maps, it has all the maps you've created through time. Let me see if I can show that. So you can see I was working with a group in Orland. We talked about Orland Park, the trees in the parks in Orland and mapping those out. And then, of course, with my daughter's graduation, we went to Maui for a few days. And so I mapped that all out as well. So you can use it for personal use too, if you like. But yeah, that's way back in 2017.
We do have another question. Is MyMaps also an add-on? Or Google, I think they
MyMaps
meant
is
MyMaps. Mhm.
MyMaps is not an add-on. It's web-based, so it doesn't integrate with slides or docs or sheets or anything like that. You'd have to go to Google My Maps. It's web-based. All right, so that's it. I'm going to go ahead and.
Hey, Mark, the
Yeah.
text actually says, I don't know if she meant My Maps, but it was typed Mind Maps.
I apologize.
So I'm not sure which question it was. That
Okay.
was Sandy. Maybe she could clarify.
Okay, thanks, Nate. Just interrupt me, please, when that comes up. And I do want to mention with G Suite, if you look at all the different tools that we have in G Suite right here, it's pretty amazing. I mean, just until a month ago, nobody was using Google Meet, and now I think that went up quite a bit lately. There's also, if you want to use an interactive whiteboard, Jamboard is a great device. And so there's some apps here in G Suite that people are not familiar with. The Google Plus community is huge in education as well. And they're great. It's a great social community, just kind of like Facebook groups. You have Google groups as well that can help you with the Google technology or any other topic, really. I'm going to focus on Google Docs, Google Sheets, and Google Slides as it applies to doing science research in the classroom. And the first one is integrating English language arts, ELA, is huge right now, and into science. And this is an example of how I did this in a 6th grade classroom. And we're doing we're doing the Oaks study. And I found this came as part of the curriculum. This is a Karuk story that was this is actually taken from the Bureau of American Ethnology Bulletin in 1932. And it's a great document that the students could read it. And they learned about the Karuk story of the Acorn Maidens. And and this story talks about how different acorns were created. And it's a great way for the students to understand, to differentiate properties and characteristics of acorns, of how to differentiate them. And so we took this story, and I had the students go to insert, and they had to create a table. And they did that right here. And what they had to do is they had to figure out, for the different types of acorns that were noted in the story, they had to come up with how many different characteristics that they shared and create a table showing that. And this is an example of the student work. So now they're getting them to really focus on characteristics and properties of acorns based on a native California story. So I think it's a really good idea to get them focused on it, talking about the caps, the acorn, different types of acorns, the color of the acorns, the taste, the smoothness, and how clean they were. All right, but this gives the students an idea of when they're looking at objects, any scientific objects, that they're looking for properties of those objects that make them similar and differentiated. And this might be a good idea. There's 4 of them here, but it might be a good idea even for some type of Venn diagram that you could do with the students as well. So that's one way that I integrated Google Docs, having them read a story, they'd highlight it, get those that they can on the computer now, and then they take that information with the properties and they create a table for it. The next is the Google Sheets, their spreadsheet. And Google Sheets is getting closer to Excel. I don't know if it'll ever be as good as Excel, but it's doing well for the classroom purposes. It works great. And it's really important for, in my science class, that the students make their claim, evidence, and reasoning from data, and hopefully it's data that they collected. One thing that we did in this unit is we went out and collected lots of different acorns. We did this in the fall. And if you remember that acorn weevil video a while back, how it uses, I believe it's the proboscis, to make a hole into the acorn and suck out the meat of the acorn. Well, those acorns will float in the water if they're hollowed out. And the acorns that aren't hollowed out are going to sink. So the viable acorns are the sinkers, and the non-viable are the floaters. So when you're making a flour or a meal out of acorns, you want to get the sinkers and not the floaters for that. So we went around, and if you remember that map earlier from Google MyMaps, we went back to those trees on the playground, and we looked and collected acorns for each tree. And we kept those acorns separate from each other. And then we did floaters and sinkers, and we had the students create a graph. And in this graph, they had to make claims about what they were thinking for this graph. For example, lots of students were saying that this is primary blue means it's the blue oak found on the primary playground. And they're saying, well, the blue oak on the primary playground might be the healthiest. So that was one of their claims. And then they had to talk about the evidence and the reasoning they had for that. So it makes also a great writing assignment. What I love about it, I'm going to open up my Google Sheets here. And I just put random data into my PD practice sheet here. So here I have grade, period, homework, test, sparkline for homework to see if the students are improving or not improving. So I have this right here, and I have the students go up to insert chart. Now they've gone out, they've collected their data, they've input into a spreadsheet, but now they have to interpret and communicate what they're doing their data analysis for this. So here's a scatter chart. Doesn't help too much. Let's try a line chart. That looks crazy. We'll try to make sense of that. Are we measuring, what are we measuring? We're measuring homework 1 to grade level. So it gets the students talking about what was exactly happening there. There's other charts that they can choose from. And the point of this is for the students to think about what chart they're going to use is going to make them focus on data analysis of the data that they already have. And then they're going to be responsible to their classmates for making claim, evidence, and reasoning of why they chose that chart and what does it lend itself, what does the evidence lend itself for an explanation about, for example, the health of the oak trees with the acorns. So these charts also, they can be edited. You can copy the chart. They can put those into their slideshows or their reports. And you can do this with, of course, anything that you can get into a spreadsheet. So I found the spreadsheet, Google Sheets, that chart application of getting the students to start reading it because, for example, in California, Joe Bowler, professor of math in Stanford, she's on the new math frameworks committee in California. And one thing that she stated is that they're really focusing on strengthening data analysis in the curriculum for math. So this is one way to integrate science with the math, just as like we integrated science with the language arts when we were using the Google Docs. Are there any questions about the docs or the sheets right now? I'll take that as a no. And we'll move on to the last part of G Suite that I was going to focus on, and that is the presentation part, the Google Slides. So Google Slides is usually what I have the students use for to show their final report, their final results. Google Slides are a lot more pliable than Google Docs and what you can do with them. And the investigation that we did that had to do with the oaks is we looked at oak galls. And the first thing that we did is we went outside, we looked at the different oak trees and looked at the oak galls, and I was pointing them out, a few of them, to a few of the students, and they're wondering what they were, and we let their inquiry take place of trying to figure out what these things were, these weird looking things that were found on oak branches and oak leaves. And then once they had what they thought were their explanations for it, or what they reasoned about it, I used the PlayPosit for an explanation. And he calls the person in this video, calls them wood galls.
Hey everybody, Craig Cottle, Director of Nature Line School for NRS Red. Remember, everyone deployed on all your Fridays. That's why we wear these red t-shirts. Today, we're going to start a new series on, what is that? We're going to go around in the woods and answer questions that people send us all the time about little things that they see outside that they don't know what they are. And we're going to start today with wood galls. So this right here is a wood gall, much like a scab on your body. Basically what happens is a tree, particularly an oak tree, gets an infection, whether it's bacteria or an insect or a fungus on it, and it doesn't like it and wants to get rid of it. So what it does,
okay, and then there's your question again, and then
is it will start to envelop
so
whatever.
So we have the video explaining the gall, and then from this curriculum, from this binder that I had, I still use the dichotomous key for the oak gall, and the students would read through the information. And this is very old school, but it's an excellent dichotomous key for the students. And here, I'm going to go down to, let's say that they end up the 1 centimeter, they have 3 to 4 millimeters. What's the difference between a millimeter and a centimeter? They're using math as they go through this dichotomous key. And here, there's a sea urchin gall, which is Antron echinus, probably named after the echinoderms. And so here the students see it, they see a black and white photo of it, but it's hard to prove when you're looking at something in your hand. So then we went and did some research. Students found a photographer that takes photographs of oak galls. And so I did a Command F, Control F, and I would put in echinus. And there it is. So you can see the Control F when you're doing the search. And then I had them take that and finally start up. I don't want that. I had them start up on their create a slideshow. This is just one slide, beginning slide from it. And this is what students created to talk about the oak galls and their relationship to the oak tree ecosystem, or the oak ecosystem. So that's how I incorporated the Google Docs, Google Sheets, and Google Slides, using them as tools for science for the students to get immersed into their place-based science learning. And the technology I incorporated, just to do a review, I'm almost at the end here, is we have Google Docs with the tables, Google Sheets, having them use their claim, evidence, and reasoning to figure out which graphs they're going to do. We also talked about, one thing I didn't mention was the ratios we used in those acorns. We use Google Slides and Pear Deck to summarize their findings. They use their My Google Maps to explain what they're finding in the areas that they're looking at, and PlayPosit videos for getting around, for making the videos not just to watch, but actually making them formative assessments. And here is the bonus for you, is I have that old school Autumn Oaks curriculum on this link right here. And so you can see it's very old school, but it has wonderful lessons if you're interested. So it's made for 4th through 8th grade, pre-NGSS. So I made the shift to create it NGSS. And now we're going to, Leah, if you want to talk about the breakout room discussion.
Yeah, so I apologize to folks who came in a little late and missed our directions at the beginning, but we asked everyone to add your grade level or your position to your name. So I did my best to group everyone. It's not going to be perfect, but I'll open up the rooms right now. And we just want to give you a minute to discuss with colleagues how you might use some of these tools, especially right now with distance learning. Maybe you already use some and you have some tips to share. So this is just a few minutes, maybe about 4 or 5 minutes for us to chat. So please accept the invitation to your breakout room. And a few of you will not get an invitation. You will stay here in the main session. So if you're wondering why you didn't see one, it's okay. Okay, great. Hi, JJ. I'm sorry I didn't get to see what your grade level was to put you in a group. Oh, and you're muted. I'll unmute you. There we go.
Oh, thank you. So thanks. You know, it's switching from Meets to Zoom is tricky. So I tried to put a 3 when I renamed. Oh, it didn't rename me at all. I'm 3rd grade.
I accidentally clicked the wrong button and I accidentally left the meeting, so it messed up my breakout room. Is it too late to be added to a breakout room?
What grade are you?
I am 6. I'll rename myself real quick.
Yeah, and I tried to rename my, okay, maybe I can do, maybe it'll work this time. 3rd grade. Okay, let's see. Okay. We're definitely not in the same ballpark.
Yeah, we go all over up to 12th grade here, it looks like.
I was late to enter, but I did grade level on.
That's so cute.
So should we just make this our breakout room, or if we aren't going to one?
Yes, sorry. So that I got pulled into another room. I apologize. But yes, you can go ahead and discuss. We're kind of our own little room right now.
And this is Mark. I'm also on here too. So if you guys do have any questions, you can ask me as well, or talk about just how you would use it, any of these tools.
So my colleague and I, she must have gone to the other, I have two colleagues on the meeting, and we have been texting. And so I think we're really interested in exploring more of the sheets and doing the data and the graphing. We also teach math right now, and our district actually just cut science out of distance learning for us, and so we're trying to integrate into our math. And so doing some of that data graphing would be a way that we could do both. But going forward and back when school starts, we have STEM scopes, and so it uses the Tuva tool. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that.
Yeah, we have STEM scopes also.
And so that's kind of the same idea, I think, with the that you were presenting with the sheets, like picking what graph would be correct and what kind of X and Y axis that you want to use, and really letting them dig more into data. We're really still kind of new at doing the CERs, and we're getting better at it. But I think starting with that data point is what we really want to dig deeper into in the fall.
Yeah,
So.
and then I know that there's another science curriculum, iQuest. Have you ever heard of that? It's from Accelerate Learning. And they created the CER, and they have great posters. I don't know if you could reach out to them and say, hey, we're interested, see if you have any posters involved, and that just putting those up in your class and then creating some type of template really helps.
Yeah, for the language, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, just so you know, I closed the breakout room, so everybody will be back in 30-ish seconds.
Okay, would you like me to wrap it up?
Sure, yeah, we could put that last slide up. Make sure everybody gets our link.
Well, it's good talking to you guys.
Yeah, it just breaks my heart. Like, we're in the middle of a science, like, we need science so much right now to understand this crisis, and yet that's getting cut from all of our distance learning.
Is that happening to anyone else?
I mean, I'm in Portland Public, and I'm an elementary teacher, and there has been no science to date that has been assigned to any of my students. I think it's changing this week, but it's definitely, and I teach PE, so that's also like very, very optional. It's like really reading and math, but I feel like kids at home learning reading and math with no context are like going to struggle so much right now. Like, I don't know. It's just
you have to disguise the science and in the math and language arts.
Yeah, we did that. We had a big powwow, a big kind of, I wouldn't say argument, but definitely a discussion when I insisted with the reading team that we put some of our STEM Scopedia as reading to try to integrate that because the topics that we're in 6th grade that we're studying is human impact on the environment. I think that's too important to cut out.
Right, sure.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Before we break out back into the main room, I was going to say thank you for sharing the MyMaps, because I really think that was a powerful tool for like getting the bigger picture, especially for science. Like it's a more project-based, like you said, place-based learning, and then really seeing all the systems. I think it's really important that you recognize that web tool, because I wouldn't have figured out that it was in the G Suite or anything. So
yeah. I appreciate that. Thank you. And I was looking at that the oak gall or the wood gall video that he talked about. He had a segment. He goes, "It's the what is that segment? Wouldn't it be cool if the kids could figure out, hey, I found this," and they showed it where it was on Google Maps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can start putting things together and looking at the ecology of their area.
I apologize, everyone. I shared the wrong link. I'm going to put the link to the evaluation in the chat. We would love your feedback. And also, if you can fill this out, I will send you a certificate for one professional development unit for attending. So the one I sent you before was for the slides, which is also important. Thanks so much, everyone. I know it's 5:31 and people need to get on to whatever else is happening in your day, but we really appreciate you joining us. And it's just great to connect right now with so many educators. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I feel sad. This is our last webcast for the year, but the conference, the OSTA conference, we are planning a virtual conference. So that is coming in the fall. So keep your ears tuned in. We just made this decision, and then we found out right after that that the governor is not allowing any gatherings, which we assumed. So we will be doing it online. Same dates, maybe not the same times. We're still kind of figuring that out. If any of you have thoughts about what would make a great conference for you virtually, please send them to me. I would love to hear what you think.
Great.
What's the best way to do that?
I'll put my email in the chat. You can email me.
Okay.
And if you have any questions about today's presentation, feel free to email me and message me on Twitter. It's right there. And then again, on that last slide, there was the bit.ly for it. I'll put that back up also here. So thank you again for all your time. I appreciate everything you guys are doing. It is crazy. My heart goes out to the parents of young children right now, as well as teaching. That is absolutely insane. So hang in there.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to leave.